My name is Hunter.
My name's Gianna.
And this is College.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Double DQ
Radio Show. All the best.
Hola, gente, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos una vez más a su programa de radio favorito. No me digan que no lo es.
And you are listening to The False Start, where we talk about...
Welcome to You Countdown this week, and boy, do we have a good one for you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. As always, go Yes.
This is
KAOR.
KAOR
91.1
91.1 FM
In Vermilion.
Welcome to Beyond the Mic, a documentary of KAOR's Voices in History. I'm Sydney Kolln. KAOR celebrated 40 years as a station last year in October, but the student radio station's history expands farther back. It all starts with Ernest Lawrence, who's half the namesake of the Akeley Lawrence Science Center at USD. During Lawrence's first year as an undergraduate student, he approached Louis Akeley with the idea to build a radio wireless set and transmitter. The reason why Lawrence started the campus radio station wasn't because he was interested in electronics, but because he was more interested in the technology of it. In December 1921, the U.S. Department of Commerce regulated radio and adopted a regulation establishing a broadcasting station category. In May 1922, a telegram was sent to the University of South Dakota, authorizing a broadcasting station. The assigned call letters were WEAJ. The station operated on a 360-meter entertainment wavelength. A year later, it changed frequencies to 1060 kHz and then 1080 kHz. At the time, the station included programs such as concerts and basketball games. Prior to the January 1923 boundary shift to the Mississippi River, stations in South Dakota received call signs starting with W. Afterward, they received call letters starting with K. This caused the call letters WAAJ to change to KUSD in October 1925. Throughout the years, KUSD changed frequency levels several times. On November 11, 1928, the Federal Radio Commission implemented General Order 40. This reassigned KUSD to 890 kHz and put the station on a time-sharing basis with KFNF in Shenandoah, Iowa, and WILL in Urbana, Illinois. The station broadcasted for a total of 3.5 hours a week. In 1936, KUSD was allocated 1/8 of time on its shared frequency for an annual total of 350 hours. 1 year later, in 1937, WILL moved to a new frequency, which meant that KUSD was now time-sharing with only KFNF. KUSD regained their own frequency in 1952, after a 2-tower directional antenna was built in Vermilion. The station was limited to daytime-only operation until a companion FM station was built, allowing additional programming from sunset until midnight. In the 1980s, the University of South Dakota formally agreed to give the call letters KUSD to South Dakota Public Broadcasting, making USD's student radio station change call letters again. Before I address what happened to the student radio station, I wanted to highlight one of USD's most successful journalism graduates. Al Newharth came to USD in the late 1940s with big plans for getting into sports broadcasting, but quickly realized how bad he was as a radio announcer. In the centennial edition of The Volant, Newharth shared a story about a time where he was calling play-by-play on KUSD for a USD football game. His older brother sat in the stands with the radio turned full volume. The people in front of him turned around and told him to turn it down or completely off. Newharth's brother asked what the matter was and why they didn't want to hear the game on the radio while watching it. Their response? Not with that damn idiot broadcasting it. Al Newharth agreed with the stranger's remarks and decided to pursue a career in print journalism instead. In 1981, USD radio students received word that KUSD-FM was becoming part of SDPB.
The word to the students, the student broadcasters, was that, unfortunately, because we're going to go to a network, not just the radio station, you guys are going to get kicked off the air.
At the time, the group was funded by the Student Government Association. In an effort to try and find some kind of alternative, Drew Jacobs started doing some outreach.
We did fundraising. We were collecting, recycling aluminum cans, and to raise money, but more so to create an awareness, kind of like a marketing campaign.
In 1982, a one-time student activity fee of $2 helped fund the startup for the initial purchase of equipment needed to get the radio station on air. In the fall, the radio went live on cable channel 22 since they couldn't use KUSD-FM anymore. The cable radio program was used for 3 years until receiving a license from the FCC in 1985.
The intent was to try and find call letters that matched the Student Broadcasters Association, KSBA, but those call letters were already taken So when they were making decisions in 84, 85, like they had to select call letters, they came upon choosing AOR because it fit what kind of music format that the station was playing at the time, album-oriented rock.
With more students involved in the radio, an increase grew among people who wanted to cover sports.
We were doing different sports programming, new sports updates. They were starting to do some play-by-play. We had the Spectrum Sports Scrimmage program, the sports trivia thing. And like I said, as a result of having more students in the organization, and among those, we were able to do different things.
Jacobs came up with the idea for Spectrum Sports Scrimmage and co-hosted it alongside Steve Ferrist and others.
It became interesting enough, it became an intramural sport. So we went through the intramural program with the athletics, and we created a single elimination tournament, and students signed up from various dorms and frats and other stuff like that.
We would have students who would sign up at the Coyotes Student Center back then, now the Muck. And initially it was about 20 different groups, 20 different teams. Each team had 3 members.
The co-host asked students about sports trivia. Whichever team won the most points would move on to the next round of the competition.
Eventually that became pretty popular, where we then the semifinals and the finals within the, not the first year, but the second and third year I was there, we actually did a TV broadcast for the final competition.
In the final round of competition, sports broadcasters from around the area would come and face off against the winning student team on KYOT.
So we had Jim Bird from Kello, Mark Ovanen from KSFY, Kevin Colhane from KDLT, Gene Sherman from KCAU in Sioux City. In previous year, we had some newspapers, Hod Nielsen from the Yankton P&D, John Egan from the Argus Leader.
One year, the students actually beat the professional sportscasters in the final round of trivia. For other sports coverage, the station did play-by-play for USD football, basketball, and baseball, and even covered Vermilion High School sports.
We did a VHS Sports Weekly, Vermilion High School Sports Weekly, so we would actually bring in coaches from the high school in each of the sports, and they would talk about their team, the schedule coming up, and it was a good way to connect with the community, I think.
For physical location of the student radio station, it was located on the 4th floor of the South Dakota Union from the 1970s to the late 1980s. The station then moved to the New Armory, located on the corner of Cherry and Dakota Street. The New Armory was reconstituted as the E.O. Lawrence Telecommunications Center in honor of Ernest Lawrence. The building also included South Dakota Public Broadcasting. In the 1990s, the building was renovated to house USD's Media and Journalism Department. On September 25, 2003, the building was renamed the Al Newharth Media Center after USD journalism graduate and USA Today founder Al Newharth. KAOR's radio station has remained in the building ever since. While KAOR is programmed as alternative rock, that didn't stop students from playing other music genres.
We had country music shows, we had alternative rock shows, we had classical shows. A good friend of mine, his brother did a classical show every single, I think it was Sunday. So we had anything and everything, from hardcore metal music to classical jazz. There was nothing off limits.
In the 2000s, the university's branding was UDOT, which inspired the name for the radio station at the time.
When I became music director, I started to host U Countdown, because at that time we still had the UDOT branding at the university. So I was there the last year, we were U Radio. And then the following year, we were looking at what we wanted to call ourselves, and that's when it became KAOR Radio. I also hosted KAOR Countdown or U Countdown, depending on what year it was, on Fridays, which would cover the top 10 songs, usually based off of requests and the Billboard charts.
Some of the music played on KAOR included outside submissions.
I would listen to the new music being sent to us or mailed to us by independent artists or random companies that were sending us things. Some of it made it to the air. Others were bad, were really, really, really bad. And some of it was stuff that we dumped into a box and sent over to PBS.
In regards to sports coverage, students would have to call into the station to announce games.
At the time, we had a phone box. phone line box, which really sounds old nowadays, but it really wasn't that long ago, in which you would utilize the phone line and you could come out to the Dakota Dome and you could broadcast games just straight off a phone line.
Chris Dexter decided that a step up from using a phone line would be using the program Skype.
I would have the guys set up, and we would rig up this laptop with a couple of microphones. They would call into the station account on the second computer, and I could pipe it through the studio and give it a much clearer sound.
Once their advisor, Candace Walton, saw how serious students were about wanting to do play-by-play, a Comrax unit showed up at the station's door.
Now, instead of having phone line, everything was getting tied in through Ethernet. Quality was so much better. And when Candy Walton saw that that's what we were trying to do, they found it in the budget to be able to get us a Comrex unit and to do that. And that opened up the opportunity to do even more and expand even more.
The upgrade in equipment paid off as KAOR won Best Student Play-by-Play and Best Student Sportscast at the Midwest Journalism Conference in 2012.
When they read our name, Jerry stands up and goes, I won. And I'm like, you? Just as a joke. And so I always remember that. It was pretty funny because he was so psyched. And it's a great feeling. The awards are nice. It was more being nominated that I enjoyed, because it just validated at the time that the big transition that I made was paying off.
It was awesome. Again, like he meant a lot to me because I learned a lot from Chris, and it's funny I even call him Chris Dex. Everything is always Dex with him, but the awards, those are always just very special moments because it very much highlighted that what we were doing felt right. And really, for those that would be listening on 91.1, we were putting a good product out, and we were doing it as students, and we were having that opportunity, and it confirmed a lot of that, and it made it just. It's awesome thinking about it. I still, even to this day, I'm like, wow, that happened.
In 2012, KAOR put together an award ceremony at the end of the year to celebrate their staff.
The reason that we did that was because we felt like KAOR Radio and some of us we were not looked at as much. A lot of the emphasis was always on whether it was the Volant or whether it was on, KAOR News, which again, a lot of us worked for all of it anyway. But on the radio side, we were pulling awards. We were doing all these different things. So we decided, well, what if we had our own little banquet?
The award ceremony was hosted similar to the Grammys, with the top 5 selected for each category.
We figured out an award for everyone. And then I created audio, as I mentioned, created audio for each person coming up there. Like, we had one group come up as the Mario Brothers. I think it was like best teamwork or something like that.
The group even created their own Coyote Hall of Fame plaque, recognizing students for their outstanding service and dedication to the station.
Truly putting that together, when this idea was brought up, was we need to honor Chris Dexter for everything he did for this. He's the perfect candidate for the first person to be on there. And then hopefully this is something that just continues down the line to where, whether it's a senior student that's graduating and leaving, that left their mark, left their impression, then they could be highlighted that way.
At first, station manager Chris Dexter wasn't going to attend the award ceremony, but was pushed by another student to go, and is glad he did.
I'm not gonna lie, I cried when it happened. I guess because the station had met so much during my time. It started off as this idea of this 2-hour mix show that kind of blossomed into something that I really can't fathom. I met my friends, people. I'm still in touch with Jerry, and it just, this whole core group of really talented people were in the station all at this one time. And, to be singled out for it, it's humbling. And, I don't know. I thought it was just, obviously I'm still at a loss for words on it.
Janet Davison was the advisor for KAOR for over a decade, beginning in 2012. As advisor, she had a number of things that she was in charge of.
Mostly it was to supervise the setting up of the schedule for the programs that would be on the air each semester and guiding the station manager, whoever the station manager was, through the process of getting other staff members, recruiting other executive staff such as the music director and programming.
While the staff seemed to increase year after year, there was one major event that affected involvement.
At one point, we had 40 different shows on the air in a given semester, and then COVID came. And with COVID came, of course, we had to basically shut everything down. We couldn't have people in the studio even. And then after that, it had been a slow build-up back to try to get more and more people involved.
While KAOR is the university's student radio station, their audience isn't just students.
It's not just the campus that tunes in, because I actually have friends in the community, people in their 60s and 70s, even now, tune into KAOR on a regular basis, and they love it. They love the music programming. They love listening to the games when we broadcast the games. They just think it's really cool that we have this little radio station here on the USD campus and that they get to connect with the students in our department.
While Davison had advised the station for over a decade, what stands out most to her was the students that got involved.
I think what has stood out over the years are those semesters, because the personnel changed semester to semester, those semesters when there was a particularly cohesive group of people involved in the station, people who were enthusiastic, passionate about radio, wanting to do radio, some of them wanting to do it professionally, and the camaraderie that I saw amongst the students when they were doing that, and the pride that they could then have in doing something that was really high quality, that people enjoyed listening to, and that maybe made a difference.
John Thayer took over as KAOR's advisor in the fall semester of 2023. He is also the play-by-play announcer for USD football and men's basketball, and enjoys sharing his experience in the field with students.
Through my opportunities, I've had a lot of broadcasts that have been success. I've had broadcasts that have failed. We've had technical issues during them. And all of that, like real life experiences, I feel like if I get the opportunity to share that with students, because students are going to go through the same thing, right? And you want to be the best. The reality is we're all going to have issues. We're all going to struggle at times. But it's how you bounce back and how you react to those situations.
As advisor, Thayer has seen a confidence boost not only from journalism students, but students from outside of the major who chose to get involved with radio.
To me, that's really cool because now we've opened somebody from open their shell a little bit. If they can have a show on a student radio station, doesn't mean they're going to have a show in the real world, right? And a commercial station. But what it does mean is now we've given them the confidence that they can open some doors to things that maybe they weren't comfortable with and excel at those.
As media platforms evolve, Thayer hopes to expand student radio to video coverage.
I think the biggest thing is actually getting to where we are web streaming video all the time, because it opens up a new avenue for people to listen into shows. It opens up the opportunity for mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and family from a distance who maybe could tune in, to be able to connect them together, to be able to see, and visualize what's going on, I think is really, really important. So I think that's, our next big step.
Thayer has enjoyed his time with the department as KAOR's advisor and hopes to continue the position for years to come.
I have always thought that, I could share some of my misfortunes along the way with students, because the reality is, like, students for the most part get taught directly out of textbooks, and that's fine. But the reality is we all learn better from real life errors, real life situations, and I feel like I can provide a lot of those. If that can help them learn and understand what to expect in the future, then I think that I think that's a helpful situation. So if they keep me around, I'll keep doing it for a while.
Some students decided to get involved with KAOR because of their previous experience announcing sports.
I originally got started because I started broadcasting games in high school and I fell in love with it, and KAOR gave me that next step up, that next extension. Started Thursday, first week of college. I got to do a football game against Northern State. One of the scariest moments of my life, but I feel like I did pretty good.
While other students had no experience announcing games at all.
I feel like my first football game that I announced was like really fun. I was super nervous. I was terrified because I was so nervous because I had never announced a game before. That was my first time ever announcing a game. I just knew I wanted to go into announcing, but I had never done that before. After Nathan said I had done a really good job, so that made me proud.
When it came to preparing for a game, some students didn't know where to start.
Honestly, I sucked at it. I didn't know what I was doing. I would write down 3 players for each team, and that was really it. I never did any other notes besides that. And now looking back on it, how did I do that? I don't know how I did it. I don't know how any of us did it.
For one student in particular, calling games was a dream that turned into reality.
Well, I specifically started calling games because that was like a calling for me. When I got on campus, I had saw it and I said, I really want to do that. I really want to experiment that. I really want to see if I can become like a Kevin Harlan, just one of those big broadcasters that does almost every game. And so I started doing it. I fell in love with calling games. I fell in love with being able to talk about sports.
Nadia Castillo is currently a junior with a double major in media and journalism and Spanish. When learning she could have her own radio show on KAOR, she asked Michelle Van Manen about speaking in another language.
The first thing that came to mind was, can I do it in Spanish? And that was the first question I asked her. I was like, hey, Michelle, can I do my radio show in Spanish? And I think I caught her off guard. And she was like, oh, yeah, you can do your radio show in Spanish. That's fine.
When brainstorming ideas for the name of her show, Castillo had numerous ideas before she settled down on one.
And then I was like, oh, palabras sin fronteras means words without borders. So I was like, I feel like it goes with the vibe.
Her show began by analyzing Spanish literature and then transitioned into talking more about the culture.
I came from a very diverse high school. I will say that, but there was still kind of this barrier where we don't really have a place. It's all in English. Yes, there is a space and it is diverse and everything, but it falls back and it goes back to all being in English. And that's fine, great. But at the same time, it's I have my own heritage. I have my own culture. I have my own language. And I always wished for me to be able to express myself in that language. It's something that I am really connected to my culture and my language.
It was really important to Castillo to give a space for other people to speak in Spanish and hopefully inspire the next generation of students to talk on the radio in another language than English.
If it takes that and for me to be a little bit out of my comfort zone to have this for other people, then yes, I will do it. That's why I'm thankful for all of our media places, because we have the tools and we have the help and we have the people that really encourage us to do so. Again, you don't have to do it in Spanish. It doesn't have to be in Spanish, but as long as you're able to have this space for everyone else where they can come and talk about their heritage or with their language about something else. I think it's great for the community, for absolutely everyone.
KAOR celebrated 40 years back in October 2025, but the history and people is what has kept the station alive.
I think that the history of any unit, any organization, is important, simply because you need to understand where you have come from. You can look back and see how small it was. KUSD, when it started, was a really tiny little station. And to track that through the decades to the point where, look at where we are now.
I think it's huge to be able to connect with people and know the history. You got to know where you come from is the thing. And with KAOR, it's got a long, drawn-out history that not a lot of people know. I met so many people when they came for the 40th anniversary and was able to talk with them, and they were able to talk to me about kind of what they did. And whether or not they went into radio fields, it didn't matter. They were all there. They were all a community when they came back. And so it's just being able to build that up and being able to know who was there, who kind of started everything.
KAOR has also been a space where students are allowed to make mistakes and try something new.
It's a creative outlet. I think that's important. I think that most people don't realize that's it. You know, that's why it's so much fun, is that you get to do something that not a lot of people get to do or don't have the guts to do.
While some alumni have continued on to have careers in radio, they miss being part of KAOR.
Man, I miss it. I do miss it. I really do miss it. I watch Cole and Charlie on the TV sometimes because I'm like, man, I just wish I could be back in that booth one last time. Even if I'm running bored, I'm like, man, I just want to sit in there.
When asked about their favorite memory of KAOR, it was too hard to choose just one.
Too many. The game that we called against the University of Minnesota and winning at TCF Bank Stadium is always going to stand out. The numerous games that we called inside the Dakota Dome. It's the time and the people more than anything. Everybody that was around, it just was a pleasure and a joy to be around. And the memories really stack from that, where lifelong friends that, again, still close with to this day. My wife, who we go back to the days of KAOR radio, where everybody assumed she was married to one of the other guys, but just because they were always so close. The revolving door of my head right now of people and the experiences every day being in that building.
Some current students have big dreams when it comes to what they hope to accomplish with KAOR.
I hope one of our teams wins the Summit League so I can go to March Madness. And that's A. And B, I hope one of our teams wins Summit League volleyball again so I can go to March Madness for volleyball as well, because I didn't get to go to that one.
Others hope to get involved more and maybe even join the executive team.
Being on the exec board would be nice or cool, and being able to help out and stuff and get involved in that way. Probably music director, kind of, because then it's like, oh, I can just put my music on. But I think that, and then even station manager would be cool.
Future Brady, I just hope I will get more experience with football for sure. I want to call the SDSU game because that's the biggest game for USD for sure. And then hopefully if our football team is good, call playoffs for them.
If they could go back in time, there is some advice that alumni would give to their younger selves.
The first thing that comes to my mind is I got so wrapped up in right away in terms of a leadership role. Not that I regret it, but I didn't spend as much time on myself to do individual stuff that I probably could have. But I think because I jumped so quickly into a leadership role that I didn't spend a little more time in terms of enhancing my individual talents by the time I left.
Possibly taking it more seriously. I mean, the Spectrum Sports scrimmage on the radio was fun. The contestants were not always completely there, so it made for some interesting times. But yeah, I mean, given what we did do in a short amount of time, I think I did about as much as I could.
When looking ahead, KAOR alumni hope future generations enjoy their time with the station like they did.
Well, again, it's just have fun. I think the first thing is have fun. You're doing it because you have something to talk about. And I think for all of us, we all have something important to say in the end all be all. I think that's just the number one thing.
Have fun with this. Very rarely in your life are you going to get a chance to kind of do what you want to as far as putting a show together and have it being broadcast to more than your living room or, just a YouTube podcast. This is, live. You have to follow FCC regulations. Again, have fun with it. And worst case scenario, you're not that good at it. You'll get better.
So there you have it. USD student radio station goes beyond just the call letters KAOR. It all started with WEAJ and then KUSD before becoming what it is today. I'm Sydney Kolln. This has been Beyond the Mic, a documentary of KAOR's voices and history. Here's to celebrating 40 years of KAOR and many more to come. Thank you.